LW Consulting Inc. is excited to announce our partnership with Dr. Andrew Fletcher and Eutologic Consulting. My name is Cassie Friedenberger. I am the marketing manager with LW Consulting Inc., and I had the pleasure of chatting with Dr. Fletcher about his background and experience, and what LWCI and Eutologic Consulting are expecting for the future of the clinical lab industry and our partnership. Stay tuned to hear Dr. Fletcher's insights. Hello, Dr. Fletcher. Thank you for taking some time to chat with me today. I appreciate it. LW Consulting Inc. is very excited about this partnership with Eutologic Consulting. Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and expertise?
Yeah, thanks, Cassie, and it's great to be here. Likewise, I'm very excited about this partnership. So yeah, I'm Dr. Andrew Fletcher, and I always start by telling people I'm originally from Australia, moved to South Georgia, so I've got a really funny accent. Any case, I went to school in Georgia, got my undergraduate degree, and my undergraduate degree was actually a physician assistant. So I was a practicing primary care physician assistant for about 4 years, and then I went back to medical school. And in medical school, I thought I was going to become an ENT surgeon. So I went off to Geisinger to do my surgery intern year. And during that year, I discovered pathology. So I transferred to the University of Florida, Gainesville, where I did APCP, which is anatomic pathology, clinical pathology. And then I also did a fellowship in cytopathology. So I'm the pap smear reading guy. And then I got recruited to East Tennessee, the Johnson City Medical Center. And so I was a practicing pathologist there. Pretty soon I became the department chair, and I got very heavily involved in a lot of the hospital committee work. I started the laboratory stewardship committee, which is kind of my journey into utilization. I did that for quite a few years, and then I guess it was about 8 or 9 years after I started practice, I actually left practice and went to work for the hospital as a vice president of lots of different things. And one of the things I became was a corporate physician advisor. So now I became very heavily involved in utilization review. I've also worn some different hats as well. I was vice president of physician engagement. I was medical director of an ACO, doing all sorts of things. Did that for a couple of years, and I was recruited to the University of Utah, and I worked for one of the nation's largest reference laboratories, ARUP. And ARUP has clients all over the country. And I was the medical director of the consultative services division, working with hospitals and clients across the country. And again, it's where I started to see lots of utilization review issues. About 3 years ago, I left ARUP and started Eutologic Consulting. And again, I'm working with clients all across the country on laboratory operational efficiency, accreditation, regulation issues, and of course, utilization review. So thanks, Cassie. Sorry, that was probably longer than a short introduction.
No. You have quite the background, which, brings us to the partnership with LW Consulting Inc. So with this partnership, what exactly are some opportunities that you're looking to explore?
I think it's going to be a really great symbiotic relationship. As you can probably guess, my niche is laboratory. And, with my background, I actually have done a lot of work outside laboratory, but really my niche is laboratory medicine. And so as I discover utilization review issues in the laboratory, a lot of times it's really just a good surrogate. Well, I shouldn't say surrogate, it's a real marker of utilization review issues elsewhere through the hospital. And so a lot of times what I see is, a great one is with expensive drugs. How do patients end up on expensive drugs? Well, a lot of times they had laboratory testing first, and that led to expensive drugs, rightly or wrongly. And so what I tend to see is laboratory medicine, although we are kind of that niche specialty, all too often in the basement, we're very interconnected to the healthcare system in areas that you would never guess. And so one of my goals with this relationship is really to kind of to fill those gaps and connect the dots from laboratory to the other departments in the hospital. I think LW Consulting, with the depth of experience that you have, really goes beyond what I know in the laboratory. I often find myself getting into billing and reimbursement, medical coding issues. And while I know enough to be, well, perhaps dangerous, I really need a team such as LW Consulting where we can come together and offer a really comprehensive global solution that involves
Mm-hmm.
laboratory as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we are very excited for this opportunity, and that's exactly where our experts will come into play in with this partnership. Outside of the billing and whatnot, are there any other examples of what those connections are that you're looking to fill, what those gaps are?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of times, it does come down to billing, but it also comes down to patient care. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we'll see delays in diagnoses because somebody
Mm-hmm.
ordered the wrong test, or maybe they didn't order a test at all. And so then,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just the billing complications, but what actually happened to that patient. And then you start to see more expensive diagnostic procedures being performed when really the patient just really needed a thorough physical examination and the correct testing ordered on the front end. So there's
Mm-hmm.
definitely billing complications or implications, but there's very definite implications on patient care and safety.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then I think that kind of would help with this transition right into talking about the compliance program updates that we're expecting.
Oh,
Um, yes, the dreaded
oh yeah.
so I mean, we're expecting them by the end of the year. We don't have a set timeline. That's just what we're expecting. But what should the clinical lab industry expect from these updates?
Yeah, it's an exciting year to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So the clinical laboratory compliance guidelines, the last comprehensive guidelines we had from the OIG, the Office of Inspector General, they were published back in 1998. So it's been 27 years. And back in
Wow.
1998, there's a lot of the things that I think people are familiar with today. You have to make sure that you're not billing for medically unnecessary tests. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have a compliance program. It was a good document 27 years ago, but it's an old document. This year, the OIG says they're going to come out with new updated OIG industry-specific clinical program, excuse me, compliance program guidelines for clinical laboratory. That's a mouthful. We usually just say the
Mm-hmm.
OIG ICPG.
Yeah.
So this will be the first update since 1998, and they say it's going to be before the end of the year. We still are expecting them. I don't think any of the changes in policy or the administration, this is still going to happen because it's actually a focus of this administration is to reduce waste and inefficiency. I'm a little concerned because I think a lot of people in the laboratory industry are not aware of these updates are coming, but they
Mhm.
certainly need to be because these compliance program guidelines, if they're not being followed, could lead to civil and criminal liability. And so it's
Mhm.
something we have to pay very close attention to because it's going to be on our doorstep here. It is on our doorstep, and we
Yeah.
should be seeing it here in the next few weeks.
Mhm. Outside of just knowing that these updates are coming, is there anything that the clinical lab industry that they can do to prepare for these updates? What should they be doing? I mean, obviously it's going to be a big deal when these come out. It might be a rude awakening, honestly.
Cassie, I almost feel bad saying this. Maybe I think the best place to start is going back and reading the guidelines from 1998.
Yeah.
I think everybody's probably read them at some point, but let's
Mhm.
face it, sometimes compliance, people are doing other things, which,
Mhm.
compliance is one of those things you really can never forget about it. It's always there.
Yeah.
But the best place to do is go back and reread the 1998 guidelines very closely because we believe that the 2025 updates will build upon what is already there. So nothing's going away. There's just going to be a lot more spelled out. One very specific example I can give you is back in 1997, they talked about the problem with different ordering protocols leading to abuse of laboratory testing. This was before EMRs were out there. Ordering protocols are going to get spelled out to be order sets and things built, panels built in the EMR. So expect to see an expansion upon what was already there back in 1998.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very curious to see what the outcomes will be for this. I mean, it's great for us in our partnership. I know that that is one of the big target areas that we expect to see
Mhm.
um, work for in the upcoming months. Hopefully, we do see these updates coming out by the end of the year, fingers crossed. So with these compliance program updates that are releasing, I know you have some big speaking engagements that are coming up. Do you want to go ahead and tell us a little about what some of these events are, and maybe a little bit about what those topics are that you will be discussing?
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I've got several coming up later this fall and also next spring. As I said, this is really becoming a big topic, and I think people aren't going to realize it's here until it's already here.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, to preempt that, the first big speaking engagement we've got is actually the Cardinal Health Laboratory Briefings, which is a webinar held by Cardinal Health, as you may have guessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be co-presenting the topic of the OIG ICPG with one of my colleagues, Danielle Tangor from Robinson and Cole. And so we're going to present the clinical ramifications of test misutilization, and Danielle's going to present the medical legal implications of it as well. That presentation is coming up on October 28th.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I've got coming up is I'll be speaking at the Point of Care Network group in Dallas, Texas in early November. And then next year in the spring, we've got a series of conferences coming up. One we're going to make a proposal to present at is the HCCA, the Healthcare Compliance Association. Another one is A2LA. A2LA, many listeners may not be familiar with it. It's a laboratory accreditation organization. So we'll probably be presenting there. And another really large conference, again, it's very laboratory centric, is this thing called Executive War College, which is a funny name for a laboratory conference. But it's one of the laboratory industry's largest leadership conferences held each year in New Orleans. So we'll get back with you with more dates and times as we get those firmed up. As far as the topic, essentially, we're going to go over the new OIG ICPG and see what's changed and see where it's been expanded to really make sure people can understand where any of their liabilities may be and how they can guarantee that their compliance program meets all parameters of the ICPG.
Yeah, that's those all sound like they're going to be very interesting engagements to be a part of, and we will definitely share those. Stay tuned for that information. To wrap up with a little bit of a question that is a bit more fun and move away from these compliance program updates, though I'm sure you get very excited when you talk about those types of topics. What is something that you like to do to relax at the end of a busy day?
Oh boy, I don't usually relax at the end of a busy day. I have a 17-year-old daughter, so I love to do things with her. So yeah, we actually cook together. It's going to get a little bit weird, but I'm actually teaching her how to ride a unicycle. I am actually a unicycle instructor, which is probably not something I should admit out loud in public, but yes, I'm a unicyclist. I've always enjoyed doing that. So yeah, a little bit on the strange side, I guess.
Hey, fun fact of the day. Fun fact. Not something that I would have guessed, but that's very interesting. But thank you again for chatting with me today. Before we end the conversation, do you want to go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you on LinkedIn? Go ahead and give your website information so they know where to find you.
Yeah, sure, Cassie. So my website is eutologic.com. And, I've been saying in the past, it's a funny name for a company. And I decided to come up with that name because I wanted my company name to be something around utilization. But that's kind of a boring name, utilization. So I wanted it to be good utilization. So when you put an EU in front of a word, that's the Greek prefix for good. And a lot of medical terms start with EU. So I thought, well, let's have good utilization. But it's got to be smart. It's got to be logical. And that's how I came up with Eutologic. So my website is eutologic.com. You can go in there, you can read all about me and see the services that we offer. Then also you can find me on LinkedIn. If you just search my name, Andrew Fletcher, MD, you'll find me on LinkedIn. And also Eutologic has a landing page in LinkedIn as well. So yeah, if any questions, just reach out with my email. Happy to talk and happy to explore some of these compliance challenges together.
All right. Thank you again for chatting. And stay tuned. We will be releasing a press release with some more information and some blog articles and other interesting topics I'm sure that we will develop marketing items for. So stay tuned for all of that.